Check, check, check.
Both your hands. It looks like now. It's the point that actually it's the time. Just at the nominal season of this one, the amount of that you got a time to. I don't know how y'all do it. I know why you need to wait down. Roughly. That's on it. We look fucked up for that one game. I was like, nah, I gotta get out of here. I was sweating all crazy.
It's wild, man. But lacrosse is worse though, man. It's non-stop running on lacrosse.
All right. I muted everybody. Just let me know. Somebody open your mic and tell me if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Yes.
Chris, how are you?
Well,
Hey,
how are you?
good. I do have a question for you. I think you said you're not available Tuesday and Wednesday.
I am available Tuesday, not Wednesday.
Maybe there was one day. I can't remember. But your son plays on one of the middle school teams that feeds in the Cape, right?
Correct.
Do you have like a coach's contact information you can send me for that?
For which program?
Huh?
What do you mean? For which program?
For whatever I guess the middle school, or is he playing on a club team or rec team?
Mariner Middle School.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what we're trying to do is we want to get, youth kids doing ball retrieving and just kind of get them on the field, let them be a part, announce their names, so on and so forth. And I need somebody for Cape.
Yeah, I can send you his name.
All right. If you could do that tonight, I can reach out. So, very good. All right, I'm gonna get ready about another minute or two to get in. We have a pretty good crowd right now, so that should be good. Everybody recovered from the big double overtime UVA win there. It's like Maryland went back to the ACC for a week. Mike Hernandez. Okay. Mike, are you there?
Yeah.
We don't need to really take attendance, but if you could monitor the chat for questions.
Sure.
That would be great. All right, I'm going to get started. Thank you to everybody for coming. I know this wasn't a scheduled meeting. I probably should start making sure we put it on the schedule. I think it's good before we get into the playoffs, to have a little meeting and go over some things. And that's what we're going to do today. In particular, just look at some basics with three-man to keep us consistent. So real quick, just a wrap up for high school. The regular season's over. There are a couple of middle school games this week that'll be finishing up. Dean is starting with the invoicing. It's very important you go through your schedule, check it for accuracy. And especially if you see anywhere where you think your mileage is way off, make a list of those games and send that directly to Dean. Just so you know how the arbiter generally calculates your mileage. It doesn't necessarily, it's not going to do like if what Waze tells you, it's 15 miles. It's going to do as the bird flies, as the crow flies, but it also generally only uses the zip codes. So, you may think the mileage is a little wrong if it's significantly off. Like we have one official that it shows 0 miles for house and places that are 20 miles from his house and 19 miles for a school that's right around the corner. So there's obviously something wrong there that we have to fix. But if you do see something significantly wrong with your mileage, you got to get that done and get that done by Wednesday. That's probably going to be the deadline. Anything after that, once Dean invoices the schools, it's very hard to make changes because we really can't go back to the schools and invoice them for more money. So we'll also send an email out about that if you have any questions. A couple things coming up. Of course, we're in the tournament right now. But the state final is June 1st, 3:00 at DMA. I don't know if any of you have done games at DMA. It's a nice facility, nice field, kind of intimate. It's just the field. There's no track, so it gets everybody close to the action. It should be pretty exciting. So if you're available, come watch, mark that down. Unfortunately, we cannot get you free admission. You would have to pay, but it will be a great event. June 11th, the senior all-star game at DE Turf. We'll send more out about this. That is something we do. We officiate that for free for the foundation. And it's the idea is whoever wants to come and officiate it, we officiate it. We just rotate people through. It's really a fun event for everybody. And that's the night we also give out our scholarship and our sportsmanship awards. The banquet, June 19th. Make sure you've changed that in your calendar. We did move that up a week. And then also with that, the golf outing will be that day. And they start approximately 12:30. Mike Barlotta just asked me to relay on to everybody if you are interested in that event, which is a lot of fun. You don't have to be able to golf. I golf in it every year and I can't golf. Make sure you email Mike and just let him know so he gets a head count and we'll get more details coming. Playoff assignments should be released later tonight. Please make sure you accept them immediately. And if you get an assignment, it's very important that you get there really 45 minutes before the assignment. All right. And you'll see in a minute, we have to get on the field and get everything done. It's not good on a playoff assignment to have officials showing up at the last minute. We have asked the tournament where possible to move games back a little bit. A couple of places don't have lights, so they want to start earlier. But we've tried to make it so as many officials who are assigned games, don't have an issue getting there. If you think that's going to be an issue, before you accept it, talk to JP. And let's make sure we're good to go, and make sure it is the playoffs. So make sure you have your nicest, cleanest uniform and equipment all set up and ready to go. And then assignments are based on the board makes some recommendations to JP, and then we he assigns the games. The goal is to get officials who are doing the best and so on. games. If at some point you don't get a game, or you thought you should have got games, rather than just get angry and complain, just ask, why you didn't. Often officials in their first couple of years will not, don't get games in general. It takes a little while to work your way into that. So that's that. All right. When you have a playoff game, on-field administration, we need to be on the field 30 minutes prior to face-off. So the tournament has a whole timeline they have to follow. It's different than a regular season game. Every game should have a public address announcer. Every game will do anthems and announcements and things like that. So we need to get on the field and need to make sure that all of our conferences, all our business is done at least 15 minutes before the face-off. We don't want to get in the way. We don't want to be having to do something after the announcements, and we don't want to miss any of it. So very important to get the whole crew on there. The whole crew should be involved in all of those conferences. Each game has announcements. They'll do lineups and an anthem, and that is set to start 10 minutes before the face-off. Every game will have 4 officials, 3 on field, and a timer. Just to be clear, the timer is not a CBO, as is standard in the book. We decided in conjunction with the committee a few years ago not to use a CBO for a variety of reasons, but we do put an official in there as a timer, just to help make sure all the on-field logistics go well with the clock, the penalties are administered properly, and we don't have any issues there. I will put real quickly, I'll put this link in the chat. It will also go to all of the crews once they're accepted, to make sure that everybody understands what these timer responsibilities are. It's a little bit different. We certainly don't want the timer, changing the way our teams are used to having games officiated. Let me see if I can get back off of this for a second. Oh, come on. Back to my slides. Hold on one second. Do I have the presentation back up?
Yes.
All right, good.
You're in edit
So-
mode though, Greg.
Yeah.
There you
All
go.
right, so the referee should be the representative of the crew during all of these discussions. The other members, unless they're asked to address something, it should be done through the referee to make it simpler. Certainly a referee can ask the other crew members for help or anything like that. But unless we have that, make sure the referee is a representative. And then please text JP and myself immediately after the game with the result. And that should be the referee and the crew's responsibility. So, any questions about that so far? All right. So what I want to do, I got very busy this week. I was going to put together a playlist with a bunch of 3-man stuff. And I really didn't get to it. And I also kind of felt, it might be good just to talk about some big stuff and major things, and then have you all look at some college officials, just to get a real idea what 3-man looks like. Of course, we're not doing college games, but the idea of where people are and how they're positioning and working together, I think is vital. Can everybody please mute themselves? We don't want to hear your wife yell at you for the next hour. Mute all. All right. All right. So 3-man mechanics. One thing I've noticed watching a lot of you is we're missing a little bit in some games that we're a team. So we always talk about officials being the third team on the field. And in 3-man mechanics, I think this becomes even more apparent because, we have we're able to break the field up and the responsibilities, giving each official specific responsibilities, jobs based on their position and situation. And executing this with consistency so that everybody understands what the person behind them or across from them is doing, trust that they're doing that, makes the officiating much better. It makes it consistent, and it makes sure that all of our calls and no calls are very clear and understandable. And then often we have improper rogue mechanics, and that leads to a lot of mistakes and confusion. If an official kind of goes off script, isn't completing their specific responsibility based on that position and situation, it can cause confusion among the crew. And also with better coaches, it creates issues where they know which official should be making a call. And if an official 50, 60 yards away makes that call, it can create a lot of problems for the crew. Just a couple of examples, where I've heard and seen some of this. Watching a tape the other day, and the trail called a crease violation, which immediately led to the coaches freaking out because you're 40 or 50 yards away. How did you see the crease line? Whether you're right or wrong, it created a problem, and it's not really your responsibility. And the other point that I would make is, if you saw that crease violation, then you're not looking where you need to look. You're not doing your job. You're not executing your part of the play. So, make sure that we're doing that. The other area where I think there's a lot of confusion, and you'll see it as I go through this, is on end line shots. So I've heard, I've had some reports back where the single side is calling shots out. And when they're asked about it, they basically, so I didn't think the other guy was in position to see it. I thought since it was closer to me, it would be better for me to call that shot out. And again, what that shows is that you're not looking at what you need to look at. If you're the single on most shots, you probably don't see who's closer. You don't have the right perspective because you should be looking right in the middle at the shooter and at the crease and things like that are going on. So these kind of things lead to those kind of problems. And as I go through the presentation, I think you'll see kind of how important it is. So, and then the others, we didn't talk about a lot this year, but fishing in each other's pond. Don't do it. Okay. Again, we're a team. You have to trust in your partners, trust in your teammates, to make the calls. And it becomes very difficult to officiate when you're trying to do somebody else's job as well as yours. So unless there's something really, really big that it's obvious and apparent to the whole world that your partner missed, don't, certainly no technical fouls, no loose ball pushes, anything like that. The only ones we really want to go over, and if we feel our partner missed it, call that are the big calls, the really, really big hits, the really big stuff that impacts the game or involves safety. You can always discuss the other things later and get through it. And the one example I always use on one appropriate time to fish in a guy's pond is you have a loose ball and the loose ball's rolling. Either the ball's on the ground and you got a player or two players going after it, and the on official is watching it, and then a guy comes from 15 yards away and just clears out the pile. That would be an appropriate flag for unnecessary roughness or something else, knowing your partner is watching the ball doing his job, and he would never have seen the impact of that hit. And that's one time when I really think it's right. And certainly if you do feel an official missed something and you're going to try to talk to him about it, and you think it's that big, then call timeout let a dead ball and talk about it. And if it's something you need to fix, fix it. But for the most part, especially in the playoffs, we should be too good and trust our teammates too much to be fishing in their pond. All right. So do your job, right? So every position in every situation has a job. So what I've done, I've gone through each of the different positions and kind of gone over what the main job is. And the goal is we want to keep it simple. Okay. We don't want to figure out every possible situation or where we can make a call or what we could do or where the lines of our jobs might become gray. I want to look at the black and white. So if you're the single side official, that's your job, that's your responsibility. You are the face-off official when there's a face-off. You have the far sideline. Okay, so the sideline opposite the benches, where there's no players or anything like that. You have all the out of bounds calls on that far sideline. Nobody else should have those calls, just you. Your main focus, particularly in settled, is the 5 to 8 yard area above the crease. So, and you'll see when we talk about settled offense in a minute, we should be above the crease, looking at shooters, looking for all the pushes, holds, interference, things like that, and then giving help with the goal in the crease when the lead is pulled either down, so towards his end line, or out, towards the far sideline, because that's where play is. You would come in and help with that. You would make, because you're watching above the crease, if you see a guy in the crease, that's your call, especially above the crease. Below the crease, it really is not your job. You should be watching above the crease. You have all counts in transition, and you also should be looking for that first offsides in transition. So as you go through transition, you should kind of be counting as the transition is moving. If the team getting the ball and clearing the ball, all of a sudden you see 1, 2, 3, 4 guys go over, they're probably offsides. That would be a good call at that point. Okay. You have that quick offsides. All right. The lead official, primary goal, increased responsibility. All right. So your main job as the lead official is the goal, making sure we call goals. We know when a ball goes over the line, we know when a ball doesn't go over the line, and we have main increased responsibility. So anything having to do with crease prohibitions, prohibitions for goalies, things like that. That's your primary job. You have the end line on all shots and out of bounds. Okay, nobody else should have that call. You should have that call. And then you have anything close to the crease. You're sharing the front with the single. You have behind the goal, which would include pushes, holds, interference, crease calls, goalie interference, those sort of things. Those are your main jobs. And behind the goal, whenever play is behind the goal, you should be working your way back to be as close to and in line with that play, even if it takes you all the way down to the end line. You want to make sure you have that covered, and then the single will help you. And then I did put over here in the corner, get to your goal, never get beat. I see a lot of instances where I think, and it's hard because it's a 2-man kind of thing, where you're also trying to help in transition, get to your goal. Okay. We never want to get beat to our goal. Okay. In 3-man mechanics. All right. As the trail official. All right. You're following the action on the clears. You're staying 5 to 10 yards behind the ball below the midline. You don't have to fly up. You should never be ahead of the ball when a team is clearing. You should always be behind the ball. If you're ahead of the ball, you're out of position. Okay. Once you come into position, you have over and back. Just make sure the single does the restart on that. You have your sideline, which is the sideline with the team areas and all that. You have all the calls on the sideline. Okay, so when a ball is going to the sideline, the lead should know I'm staying down. He doesn't have to run out with the play and watch the play. He can kind of stay and either watch what's going on in front of the goal or follow the action and catch pushes and things like that as the ball is going towards the sideline. You have the shooters and the passers. Okay, so you should, in most cases, not see a ball go in the goal because your eye should be on the guy who just shot the ball. and making sure nothing happens. Even if nothing has happened the whole game and it's a minute and a half to go in the fourth quarter, you should have your eye on the shooters and the passers. When you are in kind of a settled offense, you have the big picture. You know, you can kind of see through everything. You get a good idea what's going on. You particularly have a lot of on-ball responsibilities when the play is, you know, halfway from the box up to you. And then you also, you know, become the communicator to the benches. When there's a question, which is a problem, either when you're standing there as the trail or you're coming up, you know, if there's a question that's going to be asked or an official or a coach wants explanation, often that's, you know, that's your role, your job. You should also be listening for timeouts. You know, in playoff games, especially, make sure you get the timeouts. Kind of have your radar up when there's a situation when a timeout could be called for, and make sure we're getting those timeouts. You know, make sure, of course, there's possession, but if play is live, but you will be the one who primarily will get those timeouts. One other little trick I find, especially close to the end of the game or close to the end of a half, if the offense shoots a ball out of line, out of bounds, and the defensive bench is behind you, just at that point, after you know everything's clear, just take a turn. Often coaches in those situations want a timeout when the ball goes out of bounds off a shot. The defense will want to take a timeout and kind of reset themselves. So those are the main jobs. All right. Now let's look at the situations and what each person kind of should be doing. So the single side official conducts a faceoff. He's always the one who says down, set, and whistle. It's their cadence and lead. The faceoff players should be the faceoff guys know what's going on. The lead left is the helper. All right, and there seems to be a little bit of confusion about what their role is. So you're helping. All right, so you're looking through the neutral zone because usually, you know, in a lot of cases, if the single is right on the line or 45 degrees, they can't see the neutral zone. So you can be watching the neutral zone. You can look at the positioning of the player facing you. Did he get his hand all the way down to the ground before, you know, was it on the ground when he said set? Did his hand come up? You know, is he touching, you know, way up on the plastic? Does he go right to the plastic when the whistle's blown? Or was there early movement by the person particularly facing you? Often you can catch them in that early, you know, they're trying to roll in. So you kind of see them lurch up off their legs and their butts go up in the air and, you know, they moved early. The other thing is we want to position to get best coverage. So we should never have both officials looking at the same angle. So often you see the single is on one end looking down through the sticks, center of the field, and the helper is. Well, now you've got two people doing the same thing. So if the single takes the line, so he's looking down the line, right down, you know, through the sticks, then the helper should get to the center. Okay. If the single wants to take the center, okay, then the helper should get angled at a 45-degree angle out. Also, you know, especially if players winning the ball out in front and they're coming right at the lead left, he can be angled with the face-off official, the single on the line. Okay. The only time we'd maybe be looking through at each other is if they're both at an angle. If the single decides he wants to be at an angle and you're not comfortable being in the center, you know, you can be at an angle. The helper should never be looking down the line. He'd be way too far out of position to get to their goal. And then the other thing with the helper is you don't have to be right on top of them, but you shouldn't be too far past where the soccer circle is. So that you can see in and, you know, make calls if you have to make them. And then when we have violations, make sure we're restarting on the offensive half of the field. The single should be stationary. So when you're doing a playoff game, if you haven't done a lot of 3-man, you're the single, you have a guy jump, make yourself stand right there. bring the player right back to you on the offensive side, conduct the restart. The lead official, who's going to be the lead, should go to his goal. While he's freezing the boxes, the trail should turn and freeze their box. Okay. If you're freezing the boxes and a player comes flying out of the box before the single blows the whistle for the restart, kill the restart, put the players back in the box. There's no foul for that. And it honestly doesn't really matter if the right players get back in the box, but just make sure you have a goalie and 3 defensive players and 3 offensive players back in the box before the restart. So that's face-offs. In settled offense, all right, so the lead single and the lead are always working to be as close to the goal as possible. All right. One of the things we see often with our group is the single is all the way out beyond, in the alley, trying to watch play and often up too far. So the single and lead, you should be trying to get as close to the goal as possible. If the ball goes towards the lead, the single should be working towards the goal. If the ball goes towards the single side, the lead should be working in the other direction. It makes it difficult to justify paying 3 officials if the single side decides that his role is really just to be a second trail. Okay. It's very hard, to say, well, you need 3 people on that game when 2 guys are doing the exact same job. Okay. When the lead goes behind, so the lead should go behind when the action goes behind. Okay. Don't stand at GLE and watch guys fighting for a ball at the end line. You should be going down there, and the single should be moving to goal line extended. Okay. The single is always watching in front of the goal, and they're only looking behind when play is right. You got something going on right at the crease behind, so they can help the lead. If the lead goes way out, so the lead has to go all the way to the far sideline or goes down towards the end line, the single should go down and take a position like they're gonna take the goal, just in case a ball comes up very quickly and the lead can't get in position. Just remember, the lead has all of the end line calls. Single should never take an end line call. The trail has all the sideline calls that allows the lead to stay in. Okay, you can adjust your restarts in the corners. So yes, if a ball goes out on the sideline, but it goes out in the far alley where the single is, it does make sense for the single to drop down a little bit and conduct that restart. Okay, and that allows the lead to get back and be in good position, not be way out of position. The same with a sideline call that's all the way down by the cone. So it goes out on the bench side, but it goes out 2 yards above the cone. Okay, the trail should still be making that call, determining who gets the ball and pointing, but the lead can then drop down and make that restart, because otherwise they would be in the middle of play. All right, and I wanted to go back real quick if I could. I just wanted to share this one clip that we used from a game. Okay, so here our single, we have 4 guys down here. Our lead is right here. Our lead, honestly, in this case, should be here. They should be at the end line, which would mean, where would our single be? Our singles should come down and cover GLE and have the goal. Okay, so if anything happened here, we're way out of position. Right? And then if you remember, I drew these cool diagrams. So when the ball is behind, okay, or in most cases, the lead's primary responsibility is going to be here. All right. When play is here, all right, this is going to be the singles' primary air responsibility. And then this is the trails. So when we talk about fishing in ponds, if you take those 3 lines, and kind of look at them. So really, almost every call that a lead official makes is going to be involved right in these areas, from the end line up, all right, and right here. Almost every call the single makes is going to be here and to there, all the way to their sideline, and even in this little kind of corner right here. Okay, I redrew it there so you can see it. And then the trail kind of has these areas. If you're making calls outside of those areas in settled offense, you're kind of outside of your realm of what you should be calling. That makes sense to everybody? Break my thing here. Are there any questions so far? Are there any questions in the chat, Mike?
No, there's nothing.
All right. So in transition, just remember the trail stays with the play. All right. We want to make sure that we are, the trail has the 4-second count in the crease. All right. So if we have a save, the trail takes that count. The single takes all the other counts. But the trail, as the ball comes up, is staying 5 to 10 yards behind the play. If you find yourself up above, you need to get behind. You need to let play work to you. But make sure you're 5 to 10 yards behind. All right. The single goes right to the cone. Okay. That doesn't mean you turn your back to the play. So the goalie makes a save or there's a loose ball and the defense picks it up. Start running to the cone, kind of look over your shoulder, make sure you have a good idea where the ball is, or backpedal till you get to the cone. And then stay at the cone. And the cone means you're basically straddling the cone. You're standing on the line right at the cone. Stay there till offense is clearly across. So when the clear goes by, it gets to about the 45-yard line on the offensive side. Then you can start slowly moving. Just make sure nobody turns and comes back. And once they've got the clear, then get down. I've heard a couple people say, well, they feel they need to get down, and become the single and help the lead. And this is where we're working as a team. So if you have a slow clear and the lead is down at the goal, the lead needs to be thinking, okay, I'm kind of by myself. I'm on an island here, so that they're going to have to open up their field of view till the single comes into position. But we want to keep the single at that cone because they have that first offsides, and they also have, they kind of that big Bermuda Triangle. There's that area in the middle of the field during clears that is hard to see. So that's why we want the single right there. And the lead should go right to their goal. Their first responsibility is the goal. If it's a slow clear and they want to look back, and help in those bad areas, that's fine. But that's pretty much what we're doing in transition. Restarts. Trail has all the deep restarts. And I kind of consider deep restart as anything from about the 35-yard line. So about 5 yards at the top of the box, back to the end line. Those are deep restarts. Trail should have all those. The singles should not be taking those. Okay. The single has any restart on the far side from about that 35-yard line, and they would restart any ball into the next offensive area down to the end line. The lead has his end line restarts, and then the trail has all of the restarts on his sideline. Okay. The lead should allow the trail to take transition restarts toward their goal. So where this happens a lot is you get a ball, let's say, that goes out of bounds, very quickly in front of the lead, let's say at the box. Okay. The lead should, once the call is made and everything's clear, go to their goal, let the trail run up and make that restart. Don't get yourself trapped by trying to make a fast restart near the box and not being in position at your goal. Okay. And then we want to make sure we get all restarts 5 yards from the box. And just to be safe, make sure we get them at least a yard off all lines. Okay. That's very important. George sent me a video from a college game where the official, of course, it involved Princeton, but the player was stepping inbounds, was barely over the line. The official restarted play, and that player's first just natural instinct, he took a small step backwards and stepped right on the line. We just don't want to get ourselves in those positions. Just make sure, give them a chance to get a yard off all lines, and make sure they're not running inbounds. And then if you do have somewhere where you think you're going to have there's a gray area on the restart, just talk through those. Make sure you understand who's restarting the ball. I'd rather see slow restarts, to make sure we get them right, than a fast restart that creates a situation and something that impacts the game. And that is the end of that part. So, were there any questions? Any situations people wanted to maybe talk through? Something you've seen? Something you disagree with what I said? All right. We are going to stop for 1 minute. We do have one of our brothers who celebrated a significant birthday yesterday. And I had a little get together for him today. Fortunately, I decided to do it in Philadelphia, so I couldn't make it. But if everybody could open their mics and sing a big happy birthday to Shaw Fu. So go ahead and unmute your mic. Give everybody a second. All right. And 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday
to you.
to you. Sing, everybody.
Happy birthday
to
to you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
birthday,
dear
dear
Fu. Happy birthday to you.
That's pretty.
Hey, Fu, do you have any words of wisdom? What is this? This is a 0, right? 0 at the end, Mr. Fu? Look, he put the meeting on so we'd think he was here. Ugh. Either that or he's crying. All right. I do want to do one more thing. So I think one way to really kind of look and start to understand, these mechanics is watch them on the field. And I learned a lot just watching, games on TV and watching higher level officials and how they do it. Now, yes, high school's a little bit different, but the tenets, the fundamentals of these mechanics should be the same. All the things that I just went through, all the restarts and, our positioning and making sure we're working as a team and trusting our partners, all should be the same. So, we want to make sure that, we're kind of following those. So what I wanted to do, and I certainly implore you, if you have any of the streaming packages or ESPN, to go on and just kind of watch, and see how they conduct the game and see how they're doing their mechanics. I thought it might be just a good idea for the last maybe for 10 minutes of this meeting. I was going to put on a little bit of a game from today and just watch the officials and see, what you see, what you notice about how they're doing things. So before we start, does anybody have any questions? Get to the first face off here.
There's nothing in the chat, Greg.
Okay. Everybody can see my screen there, right? You can see my screen, is that correct?
Yes. Can you?
Should be-
Yeah.
should be-
It's a little. It's going to be choppy. It is choppy.
Yeah, I tried to enable it. I've been buzzing through. So let's see. Turn the sound down a little bit. Heard enough of Quint Kesting today.
Officials today: Jason Parks, David Mueller, Andrew Smith. And the face-off Vex, Logan Callahan for the Blue Jays, Anthony Gobriel for Virginia. And they played in March. Gobriel, the Navy transfer, did not play against Johns Hopkins. Virginia wins the first face-off. They play it back to Nunes.
Is it fairly watchable?
As they try to go on offense.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so here we have a clear coming. You can see our lead is already, he's at GLE. He's ready. And once the play comes in, the face-off official and the single, you know, are getting into position. And the trail is keeping himself, you know, kind of back with the ball, and you'll see him come up.
First midfield out there, Boyden, Ryan Colsey, son of the three-time All-American at Syracuse, and now Griffin Schutz, who had 3 goals in the regular season win against Hopkins, but Erlin reads this one right away, and the quick outlet gets the Blue Jays going.
So our lead, you know, he never stops. Even though play stops, he keeps going. All right, and the ball got over, and you could see the single coming in. And we're pretty quickly in position, ready to officiate. Play is behind. The lead is a little bit, you know, he's 5 yards behind GLE. Getting out of the way.
Angeles and Garrett Degnan, one of the most prolific scorers in Blue Jay history. 7 in white is Dylan Bauer, senior from Park City, Utah. He's on that first midfield with Collison. And Peshko, 51 in white, also had a 4-goal game against Virginia in March.
And if you watch the single, his play came close to the crease. He kind of started to look back there, but he was moving from the back to the front of the crease to make sure he had coverage. Notice the single has not moved up on that clear. He stayed right there.
Scrappy ground ball by Garrett Degnan, 40 in white. The initial turnover caused by excellent Virginia interior crease defense. A point of emphasis from Coach Tiffany when we spoke to him.
Virginia's been vulnerable in the defensive midfield at times. Peshko, matched by Chase Yeager, the Harvard transfer. Degnan shoots it wide. Garrett Degnan, 159 career goals. That is tied for second all-time at Johns Hopkins with Ryan Brown. Only Terry Reardon has more. It's good company. Collison on the invert, lowers that shoulder. Lefty out of Canada. Here's the slide, well timed. Flag down. Too much contact. John Schroeder came over to help.
Right before that, I don't know if you noticed, both of them, you know, had to play right between them, and they both pinched in, so they were as close to the action as they could get. That's what we want to see when we have play like that.
On his rear. I don't know. I didn't see it right here. Watch them. They turn him. Boom. Right there. Ball's loose. It's a holding call. Does he hook him and yank him down to the turf? Apparently the referee thinks he did.
So the Blue Jays with the extra man with a click at 42% and an early timeout by Lars Collison also had 4. Degnan had 3. Virginia without its faceoff man. Anthony extra man, and the Blue Jays lead 1-0. Up top, Melendez, who did not score against Lehigh with the extra man, and the Blue Jays lead 1-0.
The other thing I didn't mention in there is the single coming through after a goal. So we want to have our eyes up all the time.
And they brought the band.
So make sure, you know, after a goal, if you're the single, you're coming right through the players.
You get used to this
as the lead gets the ball, just stay there till they separate.
Excellent ball.
Your presence
15-yarder from Melendez,
is important.
Dead center, top center, and so he's got a two-way go in terms of his ability to shoot to either side of Nunes. He opts for the three-quarter arm bouncer and skips it in.
Melendez had 37 goals this season. That was just his 16th this year. It's been a down season for him. Face-off won by Callahan.
Amazing how positive Peter Milliman has stayed with Melendez. Occasionally you'll see Jimmy Ayers play down at attack.
Blue Jays might have something. Degnan stings the top shelf. That is his sweet spot. 46 straight games with a goal for Degnan, and he now moves into sole possession of second place on the Blue Jays all-time goal-scoring list.
But Virginia's going to make you play fast. And so when you're playing against the Cavaliers, you've got to take advantage of that and take what they give. They want to cause havoc in the middle portion of the
Same
field.
innocent
When
that you
they
take.
do,
Greg, we had a
you get that ball
question,
hopping.
but I think it was from the
Angeles,
first goal. It
skip
says, "Where was
pass,
the helper in this frame? Not as
throw hop,
obvious
one step by Degnan, and you're talking
Oh, on the
velocity approaching
face-off?
100 miles an hour.
on the face-off."
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to see because they're tightening right in on the face-off, but you could see there where the helper is probably on about the 45 or 46-yard line, looking right down the line. Oh,
Colucci won the faceoff, gets clobbered, lost his stick.
I didn't see that in the game.
Ben Wayer off the ground. How good was
Now I got to
Wayer
text
last week
Jason and give him
against
shit
St.
for
Joe's?
falling down.
2 assists, 8 ground balls, 4 caused turnovers as a long pole.
Didn't Jason get hit with the ball in the overtime also? Off the face-off?
Did he?
Or was that David?
Yeah, I think it did.
Wayer's battles with drug and alcohol and how he was able to overcome that.
So did that answer the question? I hope.
Together a borderline All-American type of season.
No, it is an All-American type season. 6'3" junior out of Alexandria, Virginia. I give him credit for allowing his story to be told. There are so many young people, especially since COVID.
Chris, what do you mean on the right, not the left?
With drugs and alcohol.
Cormier doorstep look, not there.
Greg said the helper was supposed to be on the left. The helper here was on the right.
So the helper, when I say left and right, the helper is the official that's running towards the goal on the left side of the field as you're facing out. Does that make sense? They're on the right side because that's where the camera was. If the camera was on the other side of the field, you would have seen he was on the left. So the guy running to the left-hand, the goal on the left side of the field is always the helper. The guy on the right side of the field is the wing official.
Getting his master's in education.
Did that answer it?
As you said, led the Big Red to championship weekend. He made the move to Hopkins.
But doesn't that put you on the same side of the ball? If you're the left, you're the single, you're coming in kind of from the left. The left guy, he's not going to have a different angle than you are. The right guy is the one who should have.
Yeah.
Right? In this situation, the trail, the lead should have the helper in that, right?
Now, let me try and explain a little bit better. So they're going to be on opposite sides of the field, okay? We're not worried about really who's on what end other than the guy running left. So if his goal is to go to the left, he's always the helper.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. Thank you.
That's how we do it. So the left and right, it's just that guy is the helper, and he stays on his end of the field during the faceoff. The single side can be on, depending, he's either going to be on the right side of the field or he's going to be looking right down the middle.
That was better. Thank you.
All right.
It's been a championship weekend fixture. They've gotten there in 3 of the last 4 tournaments. Won it all in 2019 and 2021. McDermott picked up by Mitchell Whalen. Mendez against Yeager. Kastner hedging.
Virginia plays a man-to-man defense.
Mendez gets free. If Yeager shoots low, beats Nunes. Something to watch here. You got the sense talking to Lars Tiffany this week. Matthew Nunes might be on a short leash if he struggles early. He's struggling early. He's allowed 2 from the outside.
Virginia huddles up. They go over the autopsy report as the Hopkins band and their fans cheer. A terrific start. Melendez finds himself against the shorty. Virginia's just slow to double team, and that's kind of who they are. But the key, again, for Melendez is getting to the middle of the field. His second shot from 12 to 15 yards from dead center.
2 goals for Melendez, who last year in round 1 had a Hopkins single game record 9 points.
So you could see there the taller guy bending over looking down the middle. He's the guy running left.
And it goes to Johns Hopkins.
He's looking, he was looking right down the pipe.
Almost midway through this.
Yep, got it. Thank you.
First quarter, and now they get a pole goal by the freshman Quentin Kilrain. 4-0. Johns
Unbelievable the
Hopkins.
comebacks this weekend, huh?
Lars Tiffany going to the bullpen early. Matt Noon's coming over to the bench. Enter Kyle Morris. But these Hopkins fans and their band will play all day if the Jays keep winning faceoffs and getting uncontested looks. This one from QK.
Yeah, Greg.
Yeah.
This watching a lot of the college games. I know some officials they stand like right on the line and they don't move. And
Right.
it makes the wing guys kind of run around them. I mean, what's your take on that?
So, my feeling, I like to be stationary. I like to look right down the line and stay stationary. Because my feeling is those wing guys come in, if I stay in the same spot, they're going to work around me. If I try to move around, I'm going to end up getting in their path. Does that kind of make sense?
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, and again with the face-offs here, now these are, this is a Division I quarterfinal. These guys all, they're very fast and quick and very athletic. With the face-offs, you've got to do what you're comfortable with, right? So don't think just because on a face-off, especially, you see a Division I guy, 2 yards from it looking right in and standing there. If you're not comfortable with that, put the ball down, step back, say down, put the ball down, step back, say down, take a step, say set, whistle, get to where you're going to be comfortable. We don't want to see you all get hurt, and certainly don't want to get you in the middle. So just know that, anywhere in your mechanics, you don't want to give up too much of your mechanics, but if there's stuff you're not strong at, so you're not quick, always it's okay to cheat a little bit when the ball hits the ground, or be 3 or 4 yards back from where another guy would be, except when you're covering the goal. You always want to be as close to the goal so you can see everything then. Does that make sense?
Yep, thank you.
Wow, the lead got that big backslash.
7 goals this season to go along with 5 assists. Schellenberger steps into one. Erlin didn't make the save. That was deflected, loose around the crease, and now Erlin gobbles it. And Virginia will send a man-up unit, which has been unstoppable of late. 12 of their last 19, 3 for 3 in round 1. 59%.
I'm gonna turn the sound off for a second. Kind of close the meeting. All right, I'll kind of keep this running. There was one thing that I didn't discuss, and I do want to end the meeting at 7. One thing I have noticed a lot with our group is on timeouts. A lot of us tend to grab our card immediately on the timeout, look at the clock, and start writing on the card. Okay, that's a bad practice. Okay, because you have a time in the game when players are kind of unsettled, they're going to be crossing, coming together. So when we have a timeout, the trail should really step right back to the midfield line and just watch the player, try and watch the players come to them. The lead should kind of follow the offensive. Usually it's going to be offensive players, right? Follow them up. And the single should kind of work his way to the middle with your eyes up the whole time. And the end of that should be the 3 officials coming together to talk. So we want to make sure, regardless of how tame we think the game is or how great it is or whatever it is, we want to make sure that we always have our eyes up on those timeouts till they're with their benches and with their coaches. The other thing too is we want to always be getting together on timeouts. Even if nothing is hot, nothing's going on, it's just a good practice to come together. I think it looks good when it looks like we're out there talking, so if we have a timeout, we're not doing stick check, regardless of where the position is on the field, we want to come together, and be together during that timeout once they're with the coaches. So, all right, with that, I'm about to close. Are there any other questions?
Greg, we're still asking teams to stay off the field during timeouts and in between quarters. Is that correct?
So we don't want them to come out to the middle of the field. Okay. They're going to come on the field a little bit.
Yep.
I would say, we don't want the timeouts where they're coming down in the box. As long as they're in their general bench vicinity and they're below the 40-yard line so that they're separated, we're fine. Does that kind of make sense?
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, I wouldn't get too picky. If the defense, if it's on their defensive end and the defense comes in the alley and they're all talking and they're a little bit off the bench, it's really not a big deal. We just don't. The one thing you do want to watch on timeouts, especially those really exciting timeouts where they have to call a timeout because the team just scored 4 goals on them or something like that. We want to make sure that players aren't running out onto the field. So that's kind of part of the reason why we want to get that presence, and anybody coming off the bench on a timeout, we just want to kind of work them back. Because that's a recipe for disaster when you get 5 or 6 bench guys running halfway out on the field to celebrate at a timeout. It's either going to end with a bad incident, or it's going to end up with a team with hurt feelings, or a coach feeling that there should have been some kind of something called for that, and it's just something we don't want to be involved in. So that's the one thing we really want to watch out for in timeouts, is that people aren't running way out on the field. So good question. Any other questions? All right. Well, with that, I'm gonna end the meeting. If you have any questions, problems, situations, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or anybody on the board. Have a great playoff season, and we'll talk real soon. Have a good night. I love watching Frank fold his laundry. I knew. That's great. That's probably the best thing I've ever seen on Zoom. All right. See ya.